Hello, everyone at Pocono Raceway. I'm Stephen Stumpf. I'm here with Stephen Mallozzi, who will be competing in both the truck and Xfinity races this weekend. But before we get into the racing this weekend, I wanted to go talk about your very unique background into racing. So just kind of tell me about, racing growing up, being around it, racing as a kid, as a teenager. What were your favorite memories in doing that?
Yeah, so a lot of my racing stuff happened with my old man. Him and I grew up go-karting when I was like 9 years old. I won a championship on NASCAR Thunder 2004, and I told him, hey, Dad, I just won the championship. I bet you I'd be pretty good at this in real life. And he was kind of like, that's not how it works. But then we found a local rental go-kart track, and we did that for a few years. We loved it. We then did competitive go-karts, and for those of you who don't know what competitive go-karts are like, they're crazy. They're like 3 inches off the ground. They'll do 90 miles an hour. There's no seat belts. They're like F1 style go-karts. I won a national championship doing that. And then when I was about 16, Dad got sick. I retired for about 5 years. Dad was still around 5 years later fighting the battle of his life, and kind of re-inspired me to go back to racing. So I moved to Charlotte, got a job with the guys at Rain Brothers Racing, and the rest is history.
That was what I was going to ask you about. Your dad getting sick. How tough of a time was that for you, both you and your family, and having to put your career on hold?
Yeah, so it was a double whammy, right? Because my dad was like my best friend, and still is. He's still around. But the thing I would use to deal with something like that happening would have been racing, and I lost racing while I was like in this fight with my dad and his life and what was going to happen there. And honestly, I was in a really, really dark place for a long time, and it was super difficult to find my way out of it. But eventually, I realized that he was being stronger than the rest of us were, and he was the one who was actually fighting, so it was time for us to turn it around too.
Yeah, and I know kind of in your break from racing, you went to UVA, you did journalism, so kind of tell me how unique of an experience is it to be one of the few people in the garage that are, have been both behind the mic and in front of it?
Yeah, I would say that's true of a lot of things. I don't think a lot of us have gone to law school either. It's kind of weird, right? Because I think it's given me a different perspective on what it's like to do my own stuff. And by that I mean I do my own tweets and write my own press releases and do my own stories. And how do I want to be perceived, right? And when you're doing a lot of the journalism stuff or you're behind the camera, right, it's not about what you really want to say. It's about what people want you to say and how you're going to be perceived, right? And the best way to communicate that information with them. And I think that getting that experience has helped me present myself as a race car driver too. It's given me a very unique style, right? I think I'm pretty well known for my fearlessness in saying what I think and what I feel, and just being like, hey, this is what it really is. But it's definitely helped me along the way for sure.
Yeah, and then you've been on record talking about how how much of a struggle some sponsorship is, how much it is to be able to make a living in the series and be able to live out your dreams. Just kind of for someone at home that doesn't necessarily know the finances of and the inner workings of NASCAR, how kind of difficult is it week to week?
Yeah, I mean the race winning rides in the third tier division, the truck series, are $150,000+ a race, and where are you finding that kind of money, right? So there's three things, right? A lot of parental connections, a lot of longtime drivers who have had sponsors since the 2000s, and the third one is the owner-driver, a lot of people who own their own teams, the Spencer Boyds, the Timmy Hills, and really grind out their truck rides so that they can participate in these series. People don't understand that to make it even at the lower levels with the teams that are, a little less well-funded than other ones, it still costs a ton of money. And you have to work on these sponsorship deals for months and months before people are willing to sign on the dotted line. All my partners, I'm really grateful for all of them, and especially the people at Great Pocono Homes this weekend for coming on and joining us on such short notice to get behind us. But it's so difficult to really get that stuff done.
Yeah, and you had also, you'd also been on record, also writing about your struggles after Gateway, too many things out of your control. I won't go into it, but how much motivation is there to just, whenever you're knocked down, just to come back and keep swinging?
It takes a minute to get there. After St. Louis, I was done, truly, thoroughly, just done with this sport. And I was so frustrated, and it was a culmination of things, right? And people don't realize everyone from the pit crews to the drivers to the owners to the media members sacrifice so much of their lives to do this job, right? What ends up happening is usually after failure simmers with me for a while, I become re-inspired to overcome that failure. And that's kind of what happened for Gateway. It took a couple of weeks, but after that time had surpassed, I was like, it's time to get off the friggin' floor, man. It's time to go, like, let's go kick some ass and do this again. And then we had a great run at Pocono last year. I had a lot of fun, and it kind of reignited and re-inspired me to keep doing this.
And you made a couple of starts since that race, and between working it out back and being able to get the really cool sponsorship deal at Bristol now here, how awesome was it to be able to, have that come together, and especially with all the fan support as well?
Yeah, it's not often that you see a corporate employer like that really show that type of interest in all their employees. And I've seen it with a lot of different Outback employees, and mine is one of the more publicized ones, but they really care at like a fundamental human level, and that's a super important thing, and it makes me really proud to work for them. Landing that kind of sponsorship deal makes me pretty emotional because it's it's like something you never expected to do, right? Like you're dealing with what is essentially a Fortune 500 company and one of the most recognizable restaurants in the country, and honestly, one of the most recognizable sponsors in the entire truck series last year was Outback Steakhouse. And it just makes me really proud of everything I've accomplished. I'm a small-time guy who really grinds for everything he gets, and being able to get that type of deal means the world to me. And
now you've been able to get a deal to do Xfinity and trucks in the same weekend, making your debut tomorrow or attempting to make it. How much of a huge step is this for you, and especially to do it at your home track, no less?
Yeah, we are locked in tomorrow. We had a withdrawal, and that's really taken a lot of pressure off me because we know we're going to be in the race. To do this at my home track is, I don't know. I don't even have a word to describe it. I grew up a couple of hours from here, and I think I don't know if I've said this enough. I never expected to drive any type of race car again after I was 16 or 17 years old. I was willing to accept that for a really long time. And now we're competing at the second highest level of stock car racing, and some would argue the second highest level of racing, period, in the United States. And I don't know, it's one of those things, man. It means the world to me.
Good to hear it. And then, as you alluded to, you're also going to Temple, going to law school, expected to graduate 2026. So what do you see kind of in the long term? Where do you see yourself in your future between law school, racing, and kind of balancing both?
Who the hell knows? Yeah, I'm trying to work that out right now. I have a regular 9-to-5 job right now as a legal intern, and it's weird. It's like I'm Superman sometimes and Clark Kent at others, right? I sit behind a desk 40 hours a week, but then there's a couple days on the weekend I'm going 180 in a turn 1 at Pocono. It's like, I'm one of the few people in the world who gets to do this at a professional level, and it's tough to know where I'm going to end up. I don't know how to phrase it because people ask me, what's your goal? Do you want to be a race car driver or do you want to be a lawyer? It's never been about that. It's been, the law is a career that I enjoy pursuing and is a safe route where I'll be able to provide for people that I love, people that I care about, and have a stable career. Racing is my passion and my dream. It's something that I've always wanted to go after. And if I figure it out, I figure it out. And if I don't, I got to live my dream more than I ever thought I would.
And that is all I had to ask you today, but is there anything else you'd like to say for the fans and anyone else that might be watching this video?
No. Thanks to all my sponsors. Thanks to GreatPoconoHomes.com, Stacking Denny's, Win the Race, Outback Steakhouse, Real Sports app. Don't want to miss any. So Ozark Rods, got to remember them. They came on for this race too on short notice. And all the other people who have made this possible, Josh Rayum, Joey Gase, just without these people in my life, I never would have gotten this far. So, yeah.
And that is Stephen Mallozzi doing double duty this weekend. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Christopher DeHardy with Frontstretch.com. If you enjoyed what you just saw, hit the like button and subscribe for some more great racing content.